Hello, I'm Frosty, back with another video. You'd be sad to know we still haven't heard from Jerome in the UFC headquarters since that phone call. Rumour has it he's still very angry. He's still liaising with the fighters and talking to booking agents, doing his job properly, but he isn't talking to anyone inside the business, and that is due to him being very annoyed at the moment, apparently. We're going to have to see how that goes. Hopefully he gets over it soon. I think he's overreacting a bit, but we'll have to see. He's a bit of a drama queen normally. But I guess that kind of personality, the kind of eccentricness, is what got him the job in the first place. So you can't discredit him too much. I do have a little bit of news for you as well, and that is slightly annoying news. It's that Anthony Smith has decided to go on hiatus for unknown return date, which is a shame because he's just won against Jan Blachowicz and probably would have put him against Johnson against Smith. Winner possibly fights John Jones, depending on what happens with John Jones in the next fight, and also because John Jones fighting Reyes in a rematch next. Then also I may do Adesanya John Jones again, depending on how Adesanya does as well. But yeah, so just a little bit annoying. One of my main contenders in light heavyweight has decided he's going to go on hiatus, but not the end of the world. We'll make do. But what we do have is an upcoming card, which is headlined by Romero versus Hermanson in Germany. Let's get right into it. So here's the card. Really exciting headline fight. Yoel Romero coming off a few losses. Recently had that title fight against Adesanya. Wasn't a very exciting fight. He did lose. And Jack Hermansson is coming off a big loss as well against Cannonier. But before that, he had a few good wins under his belt, and he was looking like a potential contender. And this is in Europe, of course, in Germany. Yoel Romero used to fight in Germany back in the day as well. So kind of a little bit of a story there. Hermanson, of course, from Europe. And then the co-headline fight is Saki, who's a very famous kickboxer, really high level kickboxer. And since being in the UFC, he's won one, lost one. So he's not done great, but he has got a really big reputation in Holland. We originally did have Latifi versus Espino as the co-main event. Espino was the winner of the Ultimate Fighter recently, and is Spanish, so he would have been fighting in Europe. But unfortunately, the Latifi got injured and couldn't fight in that one. And Saki is facing Jonathan Wilson, who's just a kind of average fighter. Hopefully Saki will get the win to boost his kind of reputation a bit in MMA. And then we've also got Sobota on the card, of course, German fighter, Nazareth and Joseph Duffy. Few recognisable names there. Let's get right into it. So first fight on the card is David Sawada from Germany fighting in his home country against Chaos Williams. Chaos Williams not fought in the UFC so far, according to this. He has actually. No, that's wrong. He has had one fight in the UFC and he won via knockout, which is a good start for him. And then Sawada has had 3 fights in the UFC. Won his most recent one against Nurmagomedov, not Khabib. But lost his first 2. So let's get into it. Let's see how it goes. And Chaos Williams has won. It's an interesting name. I assume that is Chaos. I've never heard someone called Chaos before. It's kind of suitable for an MMA fight actually. And he has won in the first round again. So that's 2 first round finishes within a minute for him. So really good start to his UFC career. Maybe one to watch a little bit. Okay, next fight is Ottman Azatar against Don Madge. Azatar from Germany as well, had 1 UFC fight so far, won in the first round, and then he's fighting Don Madge, who's from South Africa. He's had 2 fights in the UFC and won both of them. So both these guys doing pretty well so far in the UFC. That's how it goes in this one. And Don Madge has managed to get the win from a slight underdog position, and it was another first round win for him as well, which is brilliant for him. And the fight was rated as good. Did he win the first round? First 2, I don't think he did actually. No, so I was wrong saying that. But he's won 3 in a row, so he's done well. Next fight is Rajesh Danho against Lewis Perri. Lewis Perri is a massive guy. I've watched him fight a little bit in because he's originally fought in Bama, and really big kickboxer. I believe it was a kickboxer. That is correct. Yeah, it was a kickboxer. He's 6'8" or 6'9". Really big guy. Came into MMA a bit late in his career, but has a lot of power. And this is his UFC debut. Fighting a Syrian fighter Danho, who has 2 fights in the UFC so far. Both of them just, that says majority draw. It says loss there. I'm not sure what his first fight was. But if it was a draw and a decision loss, he's had 2 close fights to begin with. Let's see how this fight goes. And Danho has won, so Lewis Perry's kind of lost his first big test in the UFC, which is a shame. And the fight was rated as decent. Okay. Next fight we got is Ayari versus meeky. Ayari, a German fighter again, fighting in his home country. 1 win, 2 losses in the UFC so far. He did fight Darren Till. He's also fought Stephen Ray, that's interesting. Did lose to both of them. Emil Meek has lost his last 3 fights, one of them being Usman and also Jake Matthews. So he's had a few difficult fights, to be fair to him. But let's see how this goes. He's big favourite, Meek. And he has lost. A massive underdog win for Ayari. And the fight was rated as great. 2nd round TKO. I think that might mean Meek's UFC career is over, unless he manages to recover later on. But I think I'm going to have to cut him for 4 losses in a row. Next one is Abu Azaitar. Don't know if he's brothers with the previous fighter or related in any way. Not sure. Tell me in the comment section if you do know. And then against Mahmoud Muradov. I think I pronounced the first name well, but probably not the second one. Mahmoud has 2 wins, 0 losses from the Czech Republic in the UFC. And fighting against Abu, who has 1 win and 0 losses in the UFC. Let's see how it goes. And Mahmoud has managed to get the win. Rated as good. Shayna decision win. Finish off the prelims fights. Now we're going to get into the main stuff. Got the main card. We got Marion Reneau against Lena Landsberg. Landsberg's fought in the UFC for a little while. 8 fights in total. Won 4, lost 4. Kind of rules around kind of top 15 area. And then she's fighting someone who's almost similar in a lot of ways. Hovered around top 15 level as well in the bantamweight division. Let's see how it goes. And Marion Reneau has won via TKO in the 2nd round. Fight was rated as decent. Next fight, we got Nazkat against Joseph Duffy. Joseph Duffy, of course, has beaten Conor McGregor in the past and had a bit of hype coming into UFC. Never quite managed to fulfill that. Lost to Dustin Poirier, lost a bit of momentum, and then since then he's lost a couple of fights. And really will need this win to get his career back on track. And then Nazkat had a 3-win streak going on, but lost his last fight in the 1st round. So he's also in a pretty desperate need of a win. And Joseph Duffy has got the win, which is good news for him. And that was rated as good. TKO strikes in the 3rd round. He's given a good account for himself. Peter Sobota against Alexander Yakovlev is the next fight. We got Peter Sobota fighting in Germany. He's got a reasonably high reputation in Europe, low-level national. Fought quite a bit in the UFC, 9 fights in total. Last fight was against Leon Edwards, where he lost. But before that, he's beaten Nicholas Dalby and Ben Saunders. So a couple of decent wins there. And he's facing someone who has 3 wins, 5 losses in the UFC so far. So neither of these guys are major contenders, but Peter Sobota is German, with a decent reputation, which is why he's quite high up the card. And he's been rated as decent, that fight. And I didn't even say he got the one. Peter Sobota got the win. So let's get his career back on track a little bit. Hopefully he can start working his way up into the top 25 properly. So now we're getting into the co-main event. This is where it's starting to get really interesting. Got Saki against Wilson. Saki, like I said, elite level kickboxer, very marketable. So hopefully he gets the win over Wilson, who's nothing special really. 7 wins, 3 losses in his career. Let's see how it goes. And Saki has got the win in the 1st round via TKO strikes, which is really good to rebound off that loss. So well done to him. And he will be someone I'll be looking to try and give a few easier fights to. Be maybe fighters that giving him other fighters that just stand up fighters and don't have the wrestling background, because he's always going to struggle against that until he gets a bit more experience, just because it's from the trying to avoid him losing all his reputation. So now we're into the main event. I'm really intrigued by this fight because if Yoel Romero loses, it's pretty much the end for his title contention. He's 41 anyway. He possibly is already the end of him ever having another title shot, but he is such an elite athlete that he may well be able to get another one. Possibly could go up to light heavyweight at some point, maybe. Don't know. And then Jack Hermansson really needs to rebound off that loss if he wants to get into title contention as well. So both really top level guys. And let's see how it goes. So opening bell. Romero moves forward, constantly trying to pressure Hermansson into exchanging strikes. Romero is now in the pocket. Romero can't connect with a jab, but then he hits Hermansson with a leg kick. Quick exchange of strikes, does not produce any damage. The two fighters engage. Romero dodges a right hand and counterattacks with a right cross. Romero comes forward to attack. Romero steps into the pocket, showing little fear for Hermansson. Romero can't connect with setup strikes, but then he hits a crunching right to the jaw. He's down. Hermansson falls to the floor already. Romero knows that he's got a chance to pound away on Hermansson, and does. Raining down punches, and he continues to pound away. Hermansson is barely able to put any defence at all, and the ref stops the fight already. 1 minute and 10 seconds into the fight, Yoel Romero with the TKO win. That is a massive win for his career. He's, as I said, he's 41 years of age. He needs big wins like that to rebound from what was a very dull fight in his last fight, although it was a title shot, of course. So Jack Hermansson now is going to really struggle. 2 knockout losses in a row. And he's going to struggle to recover from that. He can do. He's only 32 years of age. So we'll see how it goes. So now we're going to get into the next event we've got, which is headlined by Dustin Poirier versus Charles Oliveira. So a really important lightweight fight. I'll see you there. We're in Louisiana, Dustin Poirier's hometown. Also on the card, other than the headliner, we've got Kevin Lee against Paul Felder, which is quite an important fight. Both of these need a win after coming off losses. Todd Duffy making his kind of comeback fight. He did have a fight recently, but it was a no contest because he got poked in the eye, I think, or something like that. And also Jim Miller, Sarah McCann, a few other reasonably big names on the card. So we're going to get right into it. The first fight on the prelims is Vince Morales against Tony Gravely. Both these guys, not that much to say about them. Got 1-3 in UFC so far, so he's struggling a little bit. And Tony Gravely also lost his first fight, so both guys need a win. And Tony Gravely has got the win. Rated as great, and hopefully push on from there. Next fight we got is Melinda Fabian against Shayna Dobson. She was a Ultimate Fighter. Yeah, she was an Ultimate Fighter, but she has lost her last 3 fights against Fabian, who has 2 fights in UFC so far, had a draw and a split decision loss. So 2 close fights. See how it goes. Fabian has won, rated as decent. Next fight we got is Joseph Zaleski against Peter Barrett. Peter Barrett is coming into UFC. Is it his first fight? It is his first fight in the UFC. I think if I'm remembering correctly, I think this is the guy who had like drug problems and stuff and has eventually made it into UFC, so good for him. And he's fighting someone who has 1 win in the UFC so far, so both of them young in their UFC careers. See how it goes. And Zaleski has won, so it's his second fight in the UFC that he's won, and it was rated as great unanimous decision win. Next fight we've got CR, I'm going to try and pronounce that, against Miguel Baeza. CR from Netherlands, 4 wins, 4 losses in the UFC. Last couple of fights he struggled, lost two fights on the bounce, and then his opponent has 1 win so far in the UFC. He's only had 1 fight. He is unbeaten so far. So we've kind of got the younger fighter against a older fighter. Let's see how it goes. And the older fighter has came out on top. CR winning via rear naked choke in round 3. Fight was rated as decent. Next one, this one's really interesting. We got Andrea Lee against Molly McCann. Molly McCann's quite an interesting prospect coming out of Liverpool in England. Won her last 3 fights, lost her UFC debut, but in these 3 fights she's constantly pushes forward. Is a real exciting fighter to watch. And she's against Andrea Lee, who's a relatively big name in the division. She's rated 5th, so it's a big fight for Molly McCann if she can win. She has lost her last couple of fights. But both difficult fights, both split decision as well. So let's see how it goes. Molly McCann's slight favourite. Molly McCann has won in the first round via knockout. That is a big statement. And I'm going to really try and... she probably needs another fight or two before I give her a title shot or anything. But she's definitely going to be... With a win like that, she's going to be in title contention soon, assuming she continues performing like that, which is brilliant. She's only 27 years old as well. And last fight on the prelims is Brendan Allen against Carl Robson. Robson, definitely Robson. And he's won his last two fights. Lost against Glover Teixeira before that, and Brendan Allen, he's got a long hair now. Didn't in this fight, this one. Grew his hair out, interesting. Don't know why I'm mentioning that. I'm sure you don't care. Tom Breeze, he beat in the first round in his last fight, so he's done well. See how it goes. And Brendan Allen has won via submission in the third round. Fight was rated as average. Next fight we got is Davy Ramos against Jim Miller. Jim Miller, a very experienced veteran. Davy Ramos been around for a little while. 4 wins, 2 losses. Much shorter UFC career though so far. And Jim Miller, lots and lots of fights in the UFC. Back in the early days. More recently, he's done okay. Lost his last fight. Let's see how he gets on. And he has lost. Ramos has won by unanimous decision. Another rating of average. Unanimous decision. Hopefully we can get a bit more exciting fights going on. Debbie Ramos said he's had a lot of charisma, which is good. And it's now Macy against Sarah McCann. Sarah McCann fought Ronda Rousey back in the day, UFC 170, which was, she lasted 1 minute, which is actually longer than most of the other fighters that were fighting Ronda Rousey at the time were. And she's won her last fight. She beat Lena Landsberg, and Macy is so far had 5 fights in the UFC and won 4 of them, so she's not doing bad. She did lose to Landsberg. So let's see how it goes. And Sarah McCann has won. The experienced fighters won via submission, rear naked choke. The fight was rated as good. Next fight we got is Dimitri against Todd Duffy. As I said before, Todd Duffy, last fight was a no contest, big knockout artist, and when he does get going, had this big gap between these two fights. He tends to either get knocked out or knock his opponent out. And he's fighting Dimitri, who's unbeaten so far, only had 1 fight in the UFC, where he won via submission against Mark Godbeer. So let's see how it goes. And Dimitri has won, which is big upset, and it was a first round TKO over Todd Duffy. Got to start worrying about how much he's getting knocked out already in what is relatively not young in age, but young in his UFC career. But that is now 12 wins on the bounce. He's unbeaten. Dimitri, that's a really good platform to build off. First round knockout against a relatively big name. So we're now getting into the co-main event. Kevin Lee against Paul Felder. Both of these guys tend to put on a good fight when they fight. Paul Felder just coming off that really close loss against Dan Hooker, and that was a good fight. And where before that he was just beat Edson Barboza. And very experienced name. He did say actually he was thinking about retiring in his last fight, but clearly decided that he's going to keep going. He is only 36, he's still got time left in him. And Kevin Lee lost his last fight against Charles Oliveira, who's of course headlining this card. Quite a controversial character, but is a very good fighter. He had his title fight against Tony Ferguson, was only into him a few fights ago, but since then has kind of struggled. So this is a big fight for him to try and get back, pushing for the top. He's only 27, so he does have a chance to, if he doesn't kind of go too downhill. See how it goes. And Kevin Lee has won in the third round via strikes. Fight rated is great. It's a good way to get the crowd a bit pumped up. Because now we're going into the main event, which is Dustin Poirier versus Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira has won his last 8 fights, is it? 7, 8 fights, all via finish. So he has really kind of gone under the radar a bit, but really done well. And if he beats Dustin Poirier, then you've got to think he's going to be right up there for title contention. I think because it's such a competitive division, he's not going to get a title shot beating Dustin Poirier, but he'll get another fight, and then if he wins that and it's a big name, then it's hard to deny that he deserves it, especially with him finishing all his opponents. Dustin Poirier, of course, lost his last fight against Khabib, but did win against Max Holloway for, I think it was the interim belt, wasn't it? It was the interim lightweight belt. So let's see how it goes. Now, hopefully a really exciting fight. Of course, Louisiana, Poirier's in front of his home crowd. He's getting cheered. Oliveira may have been aiming to get in close, but Poirier aggressively took the initiative. A jab lands from Poirier, but Oliveira avoids a big left. Oliveira looks like he was going to step in and grapple, but Poirier simply took the initiative first. Poirier lands a right hand and then hits Oliveira with a straight left. Poirier comes in with a flurry of 5 quick punches, landing forward them, but misses with a low kick. A jab hits home from Poirier, and then he lands a left hand. Oliveira looked like he was going to step in and grapple, but Poirier simply took the initiative first. Poirier connects with a nice jab, and then hits Oliveira with a straight left. They come together and start wrestling in the over-under clinch position. Poirier is the aggressor in the clinch. Poirier is trying to force Oliveira into a Muay Thai clinch. Oliveira doesn't let himself get caught out and slips out the grapple. Oliveira, wanting to grapple, comes forward. He appears willing to take a few shots to risk getting in distance. Poirier lands a jab and then lands a left hand. Oliveira aggressively moving in, risking taking strikes, so he's continuing to try and grapple. Poirier lands a jab and then lands a left hand. And then a jab lands from Poirier, but Oliveira evades a big punch. Without taking too much damage, Oliveira is able to clinch with Poirier. Oliveira tries to lock his legs around the waist of Poirier, wanting to pull him down to the floor. Poirier defends against it well and takes control of the clinch. Poirier tries to get Oliveira into a Muay Thai clinch. He gets it, and now Oliveira is in trouble. Oliveira tries to wrestle free of a Muay Thai clinch, but cannot. With one more minute in the round. Using the clinch, Poirier drives a knee into the chest of Oliveira, but doesn't get much force behind it. Oliveira wrestles free of the Muay Thai clinch after blocking a knee strike, and that is the end of the round. Poirier seems in control there. He's getting the better of the stand-up, and Oliveira is clearly desperately trying to get it to the ground, which makes sense. He finishes a lot of his fights via submission, and we're going to continue seeing that play out, I think, in this fight with Oliveira pushing for those takedowns. Poirier closes in Oliveira, looking to unleash some strikes. Oliveira had looked like he was angling to grapple, but couldn't take the initiative. A jab lands from Poirier, but he doesn't hit the left kick follow-up. Poirier misses all the strikes in combo that ended up with a low kick attempt to the legs. Poirier lands 2 jabs, but his big left hand follow-up misses. A jab hits home from Poirier, and then he hits a scathing kick to the legs of Oliveira. Poirier hits a right jab, and then lands a left hand. Poirier really in control at the moment. Poirier can't connect with a jab, but then it hits Oliveira with a beauty of a straight left, and that last shot has done some damage. Oliveira is backing off and looks totally dazed. Poirier pounces and smashes Oliveira with a big left hand. Down he goes. Poirier knows this is the golden opportunity and quickly pounces Oliveira, looking to finish him off by raining down punches. Poirier fires away punches, and Oliveira is taking a lot of powerful shots, and the referee has stepped in. Huge statement from Dustin Poirier. Second round TKO, stopping the winning streak of Charles Oliveira. Fight was rated as decent. That's a big win for Dustin Poirier, and he's putting himself back up into the top 5. He's staying around in the top 5, and refusing to leave, which good for him. I'm gonna have to. Lightweight division is so stacked that I can't see him getting a title shot anytime soon, really. But he will have another big fight lined up against another fighter. But so yeah, the event went pretty well. The last 3 fights were all TKOs, maybe not quite as exciting fights in these last couple of this event and the last event. There was no fantastic fights according to the game, but you know what, pretty good, and we got quite a few results that went favourably, hopefully, because I'd rather Dustin Poirier in this, really, because I think I prefer him in real life, firstly, and secondly, he's kind of a sustained name, though he's more of a big name than Charles Oliveira. Anyway, so this is going to be the end of this video. Next video we have got Cormier versus Miocic 3. So huge fight. Be the rubber match between them. Could be Cormier's last fight. Hopefully not. We'll see how it goes. Should be a really interesting one. So I hope to see you there. Like, comment, subscribe. do all that good stuff, and I'll see you later.